I've waited 3 years for Kick-Ass 2. As soon as the trailers came out earlier in the year, I watched them multiple times. I read the comics and thought there was no way that they could do them justice. I finally went to see this film, and I was nervous. Kick-Ass is one of my all-time favourite movies, and my favourite films have a huge history of getting shitty sequels. 2013, in my opinion, has been quite a bad year for movies. So far, it's just been sequels and remakes. Yes, we still have another 4 months left of the year for it to be redeemed, but with some of the shitty, disappointing sequels I've seen this year, my expectations for Kick-Ass 2 were at an all-time low. I bought my ticket, sat down, watched a 2-hour film, then spent the rest of the day trying to think of the words to describe this film. So here's the long and the short of it. Kick-Ass 2 was fucking awesome. It is shaping up to be my favourite film of the year. As a fan of the original movie and comics, I thought they did a perfect job with this film. It seemed that all of the audience who went and saw it loved it, but the critics hate it. I mean really, this is pretty much the only time I've ever seen such a wide divide between critics' opinions and audiences' opinions. Yes, it's happened before. Most horror sequels get poor review, and even Fight Club got terrible reviews when that came out, and the audiences to this day still call it one of the best films of the 90s. But Jesus, why did we as the audience love it way more than the critics? Right now it's 7:07 PM on the 16th of August 2013, and right now on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 27%. I hate to say this, but I really think the critics missed the point with this film. It's one of the most perfect and direct adaptations I've ever seen to a comic book movie ever. Yes, there are some big changes they made, some are justifiable, and some I thought were just downright stupid. So what's the plot of this film? Well, Dave Lazuski decides to keep training with Mindy McCready, otherwise known as Hit Girl. Marcus, Mindy's foster father, wants Mindy to retire Hit Girl and just become a normal teenage girl. Pretty much an hour of the film centers on Hit Girl trying to fit in. She's bullied by the popular girl at school like she is in the comics, except instead of throwing her into garbage, she uses a device that creates a funny and quite disgusting scene. I won't ruin it for those who haven't seen it, but yeah, it's pretty gross. Dave creates a super team called Justice Forever, comprising of a group of superheroes called Night Bitch, Dr. Gravity, Insect Man, Battle Guy, Remembering Tommy, and of course Jim Carrey in one of his best performances in years as Colonel Stars and Stripes. Meanwhile, Chris D'Amico changes his name to the Motherfucker and comprises his own supervillain team known as the Toxic Mega Cunts, who comprise of a bunch of people who are only really seen for a few seconds, but the most notable person is Mother Russia. The plot basically stumbles around for a while, which is my main problem, but finally picks up at the end where Justice Forever and the Toxic Mega Cunts have a huge final battle. The action scenes are really good. There are a few too many uses of the shaky cam effect, which I just think's overused in action scenes, but all the other action scenes without the effect actually look really good. For example, towards the end someone gets stabbed by multiple pieces of glass in slow motion. That scene was just fucking awesome. The acting is once again really good, and yes, once again Chloe Moretz is the show stealer, and in some ways Christopher Mintz-Plasse was as well. Chloe Moretz is just really good in this film. Although I definitely think at times the character she was playing seemed just too much like she was in the first film, I definitely like the way that they tried to change her and show that she's actually grown up. When she's being bullied, she's seriously getting upset about it. She just wishes she can fit in, whereas in the first film, she would have just beaten all the characters up. There were a couple moments in particular where you feel really bad for the character, especially when she gets ditched in the middle of the woods all by herself. There is a scene that I thought was done incredibly well where Marcus is basically shouting at Mindy for sneaking out as Hit Girl. She then looks at the mirror and in her reflection she's all dressed up in costume. It was little details like this in the film that I absolutely love. Once again, there are going to be some spoilers now, so if you haven't seen the film or read the comics, click the annotation to skip to when the spoilers are over. The problems I have with the film mainly centre around some of the changes they made to the comics. A lot of the changes were very justifiable, and I understand when making an adaptation it's never going to be completely direct. They changed a lot of Chris D'Amico's backstory and his eventual rise to becoming the motherfucker. The rape scene they changed, where instead of the motherfucker raping Katie from the first film, he rapes Night Bitch, who in the film basically becomes Kick-Ass's girlfriend. This was all fine, I didn't have a problem with it at all. I also like the changes they made to Mindy trying to fit in, and how instead of being angry at the girl, she gets quite upset. But there are a couple of huge problems I have with some of the changes. In the original comics, the final battle took place in Times Square. It was huge, epic, and one of the biggest standout moments of all the Kick-Ass comics. In this movie, they completely change it to being a fight in the motherfucker's base. I just didn't see why this was necessary. The fight, although it was pretty good, just wasn't anywhere near as good as it was in the comics. There's also a few things they changed that kind of prevent the next film being a straight adaptation of the third set of comics. At the end of the comics for Kick-Ass 2, Hit Girl was arrested and thrown in jail, and then in the comics for Kick-Ass 3 it starts off the remaining members of Justice Forever trying to break her out but failing while doing so. At the end of the movie, Mindy rides off on her motorcycle and then the film ends. I didn't really think it was a very good way to end the film. I know they didn't want to end the film on a downer or have a cliffhanger, but I still didn't understand the change. The only thing they can do now is if in the third film it starts off when Mindy rode off on her motorcycle, she got arrested. That is the only thing they can do, I think. I don't really have many other problems with the changes, apart from them I was actually surprised how close it was to the original. The first film changed a lot of the stuff that happened in the comics, but in this they literally copied entire scenes from the comics. So all in all, I definitely really liked Kick-Ass 2. It exceeded my expectation and is nowhere near as bad as the critics say it is. I give it a 4.5 out of 5.